Unfamiliar Review, a grounded spy thriller with flaws. Unfamiliar revolves around Simon and Merritt Schaefer, who are former BND agents living under assumed identities in Berlin. For 16 years, they have operated a covert safe house called The Nest, while raising their teenage daughter, Nina, who is oblivious to their past. The couple's facade shatters when a botched mission from Belarus resurfaces. They are hunted by Joseph Kolev, a Russian power broker, and haunted by the return of Katya, Nina's biological mother, whom they led to believe her child had died. As hitmen and agency moles close in, the family is forced to flee. The series deconstructs their marriage, revealing that Simon's lifelong lies, intended to protect his family, have ultimately destroyed it. As Simon, Felix Kramer bestows a realistic, grounded, and tiresome portrayal of a former spy trying everything in his power to live a normal, quiet life, away from the chaos that comes with working with the BND. He also seamlessly showcases a restrained yet highly impactful emotional range, along with the personal toll of his past lies and secrets. Kramer's chemistry with Suzanne Wolf, Merritt, is one of the biggest positives to come out of Unfamiliar, who is also a former BND agent trying to live a quiet life. She manages to blend both emotional nuance and physical grit that are required for her character. Her measured yet intense take on Merritt instantly hooks our attention to her. Rather than relying on the stylized flourishes typical of the genre, her performance emphasizes the heavy psychological cost of burying a traumatic past in order to shield her family from the fallout. Plus, we do get to witness a bit of the funny and sarcastic side, especially during her interactions with Jonas Aachen, played by the dark fame, Andreas Pietschmann. Together, Kramer and Wolf forge the emotional gravity of the show. As Merritt, Wolf eschews typical action hero tropes for gritty and measured realism. Her presence in fight sequences is notably grounded, favoring tactical believability over flashy, cinematic choreography. Kramer, on the other hand, maps Simon's vulnerabilities and fears through controlled movements, facial emotions, and composed body language. Unfamiliar, directed by Philip Laneman and Leonard Ruff, with Paul Coates serving as the showrunner, is a 6-part German spy thriller that marks a sophisticated addition to Netflix's international catalog. Starring Suzanne Wolf as Merritt and Felix Kramer as Simon, the series avoids the flashy, gadget-heavy tropes of the genre to focus on the grit of domestic espionage and the heavy toll of long-term deception. Story-wise, this German spy thriller does break any new ground or reinvent the genre, but it deals a whole lot with personal stakes, rather than throwing the world-ending stakes at the audience. With a limited number of characters and a tightly constructed script, the series works just fine. The first 3 episodes are a bit slow in pace, as they deal with the world-building stuff and strengthening the respective presence of all the characters involved. While the first episode kicks off with immediate tension, a man cutting a tracker out of his own gut, the middle chapters prioritize psychological dread over high-speed chases or action-packed sequences. The show also uses a dual timeline structure that frequently jumps back to the 2010 Belarus mission. While this adds necessary depth to Simon's ultimate betrayal, the frequent shifting occasionally stalls the momentum of the present-day stakes. The directorial duo of Leonard Ruff and Philip Laneman does a good job at giving a noir feel to the spy thriller genre. They give their best during the scenes involving The Nest, the couple's discreet safe house, where the claustrophobic atmosphere focuses on the crumbling trust between Merritt and Simon. Unlike Hollywood's high-octane thrillers, the action here is sparse but bloody, realistic, and impactful, designed to feel desperate and messy rather than choreographed. Although the use of shaky cameras during these sequences could have been improved, the heavy lifting is done by the chemistry between Wolf and Kramer. They portray a marriage that is simultaneously a partnership of survival and a minefield of secrets. Suzanne Wolf, in particular, delivers a standout performance as a woman discovering her entire life was built on her husband's singular, massive lie. This emotional shift transforms the series from a standard cat-and-mouse thriller into a tragic family drama, making the high-stakes finale, which leaves the characters in a precarious, unresolved state, feel earned. However, Nina starts the series as one of the show's crucial elements, and then just kind of gets sidelined in the later episodes. In the first 3 episodes, she's the sharp-eyed teenager who actually calls her parents out on their nonsense, making us think she's going to be the secret weapon of the story. But by the final 2 episodes, she basically becomes a human suitcase, something to be packed up, protected, and moved from A to B. Instead of seeing her grapple with her world falling apart, the show focuses so much on Merritt and Simon's spy versus spy marital drama that Nina gets relegated to the backseat, literally, in several scenes. It's a bit of a letdown because her perspective, the kid who realized her parents aren't just boring cleaners but international targets, could have added some much-needed warmth to the show's chilly aesthetic. And then comes the finale. Look, we've all been there. You spend 6 hours glued to the screen, snacks in hand, only for the finale to give you a to-be-continued shrug. While the gritty realism reminds us that real-life spies probably don't retire to a beach with a cocktail, the lack of a definitive win can feel a bit like getting a gift box that's actually just a smaller box inside. Many of you may wonder whether the writers actually forgot to include a few pages of the script or if they were just really banking on Netflix renewing them for season 2. Based on how the first season ends, we should get a second season. Unfamiliar is already performing quite well across the globe, including in India. So, we shouldn't be surprised if Netflix renews the series for season 2 in the near future. The musical landscape is crafted by Emmy-nominated composer Jessica Jones. She uses a minimalist, electronic-heavy score that feels like it's vibrating just under your skin. Visually, the show is a love letter to Berlin noir. The directors of photography lean into a desaturated palette, lots of steely blues, concrete grays, and the kind of fluorescent office lighting that makes everyone look like they haven't slept since 2010. The camera work is disciplined. When the family is in the nest, the shots are tight and static, focusing on generating the feeling of being trapped. But once they were on the run, the camera becomes handheld and frantic. It's a subtle shift that tells you exactly when the characters have lost control of the situation without needing a single line of dialogue. The production design team deserves a shout-out for the Schaefer residence. At first glance, it's a perfectly boring German home, but as the series progresses, we see the spy layers hidden in plain sight. Samuel Finzi steps into the shoes of Joseph Koliv, and he is clearly having the most fun of anyone on set. Finzi looks quite comfortable, calm, and yet dangerous as Koliv. His performance provides a sharp, menacing edge to the show's slower moments. We also see veteran Henry Hubchen as Gregor Klein. As the wounded catalyst who arrives at the safe house, Hubchen brings a weary, lived-in energy to the role, even while spending a good chunk of the series looking like he desperately needs a nap and a bandage. Hubchen's presence adds a layer of old-school spy credibility that anchors the more modern drama. Andreas Pietschmann fans, who likely still have dark timelines pinned to their walls, will recognize that familiar magnetic intensity in his portrayal of Jonas Aachen. He manages to play Jonas as both a threat and a tragic figure, making you genuinely wonder if he's trying to save Merit or take her hostage, sometimes both in the same scene. Natalia Belitsky delivers a standout performance as Katya Volkova. In a show dominated by clinical Berlin tones, she brings a necessary fire. Belitsky plays her with a mix of desperation and steel that makes her one of the few characters you truly root for as the walls start closing in. Finally, we have Maja Bonds as Nina Schaefer. As mentioned before, the script does always do her favors in the final act, but Bonds makes the most of her screen time. She's one of the most important elements of the show, even when the plot tries to shove her into the trunk. Powerful lead performances, strong chemistry between Kramer and Wolf, realistic and grounded action, atmospheric, Berlin noir, visuals, compelling supporting cast, pacing issues, sidelined characters, such as Nina, unresolved finale, lack of originality.